It's an incredibly worrying trend that we've found, which is that people of colour are often paying hundreds of pounds more every single year for their car insurance than white people. Now, we know that car insurance pricing can be very complex. A load of things go into it, which is why we looked at 18,000 different car insurance prices. And we couldn't find any obvious reason why people of colour were paying so much more. We looked at things like road accidents, didn't explain it. We looked at things like an area's crime rate, didn't explain it. And I think this is why it's so important. This is what we're calling the ethnicity penalty, is so fully investigated to make sure that no one ever pays more for their car insurance simply because of their race.
So in terms of the numbers that you've found from the study, this isn't a small 10 or 15 pounds either way. This is across the board, across three different areas, if you like. People from black and ethnic backgrounds are paying more. In general, first and foremost, £250 more. But then also when you look at areas with high number of people from non-white backgrounds, they pay up to £280 more. Which is, I guess, looks at that wider society and how different maybe neighborhoods and towns, cities are made up.
I mean, I think we were shocked when we saw the scale of difference. The fact that someone can be paying just in excess of £250 a year more just because of their race, I think in 2022 is a really shocking indictment. We really wanted to understand why this was happening. We looked at things like whether it could be explained away by an area's crime rate or whether it could be explained away by other risk factors like the number of road accidents, but it simply didn't offer any true explanation for the sheer level of difference. And I think that for us is why it's so important for it to be fully investigated to make sure that no one ever pays more for their car insurance simply because of their race.
The study suggests there's almost something built into the algorithm of how you come up with and how insurers come up with a price. I've got a statement here from the Association of British Insurers, and they state quite categorically, insurers never use ethnicity as a factor when setting prices, and all our members comply with the Equality Act. So they don't go, well, this person is from a black background, so we will charge them more, because they don't take that information on in the first place.
I think one of the big problems here is that there are so many factors that go into insurance pricing. And increasingly, these decisions are made by algorithms that no one really understands the decision that it's spitting out at the other end. And insurers do not ask for ethnicity, but there are many things that can be used as what we might call a proxy for ethnicity. And what we found is that if you live in an area with a high number of people of colour, you are likely to pay in excess of £250 more for your car insurance than if you live in a predominantly white area. And we think this is incredibly worrying. There's no real obvious reason why it's happening when you look at traditional risk factors. And we think it's so important that it's investigated to make sure that no one is paying more for their car insurance simply because of their race.
And you compared areas with a low crime rate, but where there were high numbers of people from ethnic backgrounds. You compared that to largely white areas where there was higher crime rates. And yet you found, am I right in saying that car insurance payments were still cheaper in the areas of higher crime rates compared to those areas where there were more people from non-white backgrounds?
That's exactly right. I mean, I think we were surprised when we saw the sheer scale of the difference in the first place. You're talking not small amounts of money, average of £250 a year that people of colour are paying more than white people. But I think when we compared some areas, for example, predominantly white areas that had high crime rates with predominantly areas with people of colour with low crime rates, the fact that the white areas were actually cheaper than those other areas, I think just really showed the scale of this problem and why it's so important that it's investigated fully.
I mean, is there something sinister going on, do you think, in this? We have the Equality Act, we have the Financial Conduct Authority who could look into this.
I think what our evidence shows is that it's almost a systematic overcharging of people of colour versus white people. Now, why it's happening, we honestly don't know. Our research shows that it is happening. It can't be explained away by traditional risk factors like the number of accidents people are having or an area's crime rate. So I think it's absolutely essential that it's investigated fully to make sure that no one is ever paying more for their car insurance simply because of their race.
Now, the ABI keen to say that two people of different ethnicities who live in the same postcode will pay the same premium for their car insurance. They also say that insurance is priced on individual risk levels, and there are many different risk-related factors that are used to calculate the price of a car insurance policy, which, as citizens, our device recognize, should not be looked at in isolation. But ethnicity is not one of them. As you point out, it is hugely complex, the systems that are used to come up with car insurance prices as well. The Financial Conduct Authority, do you think that they can act on the information that you've found through the study? And do you believe that the study is robust enough to withstand maybe further scrutiny from the likes of the insurance industry themselves?
I think the evidence that we've put forward, which is that people of colour are systematically paying an average of £250 or more than white people, is absolutely enough to trigger a serious focus from the regulator, the Financial Conduct Authority, and insurance companies themselves. And we hope they take our findings incredibly seriously. And they are the ones, the regulator and the insurance company themselves, are the ones who can fully explain why this is happening. Now, we don't know why it's the case. We don't know why people of colour are paying systematically more than white people. We've looked at all the traditional risk factors. They don't explain it. If there's nothing sinister going on, then insurance companies can open up their books, open up their algorithms for scrutiny, and we can find out exactly why it's happening. Because what's happening at the moment is there seems no doubt that people of colour are paying more, and the fact that someone can pay more just simply because of their race in 2022 is clearly not on.
Matthew Upton, thank you for your time.
Thank you.